All right, well, we're recording. I'm glad you're ready. So, all right, let's do the first topic. Obviously, Georgia's had some. It's quiet. Kirby getting the new contract, being the highest paid college football coach in the country, which is well deserved. And then I guess we'll go oldest to newest. Oldest being Jacoby White getting arrested. Terrible crime of going on the street the wrong way in downtown Athens on East Clayton. And then a $26 bail. He wasn't drinking. He wasn't smoking. He was under no substances that would cause you to drive the wrong way dangerously. And he got booked for $26 bail, and the punchlines keep writing themselves, I guess. I have a bigger takeaway, but why don't you go ahead and.
Well, first of all, for those who don't know, Jacoby White is a freshman, so he's been on campus less than 6 months. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
And also, for anybody that's ever been to Athens, it is extremely easy if you're unfamiliar with where you're going in downtown to do exactly what he did, which is to go the wrong way down a one-way street. So it was a mistake. At most, you would think that you would get pulled over, get a warning, or maybe a ticket, but certainly not arrested. So I'm not really sure what happened and what transpired. Like you said, there was no alcohol, no drugs. There was a report that somebody was hanging out of his window, which is not a great idea at 3 o'clock in the morning. But at the same time,
not really a crime.
With a 20, and then having, like you said, a bail of $26 seems ultimately and utterly ridiculous. But then you get, it's a rush by media to be, I guess, to get clicks and to be first. And the reports coming out that, this was another reckless driving incident from University of Georgia, and the program's got culture issues or whatever. I mean, that was so misleading and also inaccurate.
Yeah.
I mean, a young kid that went the wrong way down a one-way street.
An 18-year-old kid, by the way.
Yeah.
He might be 17.
I don't know, but young.
He's either 17 or 18 years old. So he's only been driving for a couple of years.
So I don't know. I mean, were they trying to make an example of taking him to, and then why would you even bother on a $26 bail? That's ridiculous. I mean, if I were Kirby and the athletics department, I believe I would have to have a come to Jesus. It's not like look, if the student athletes are doing the wrong thing and legitimately like racing and stuff like that, I get it. But I believe there needs to be a conversation between Kirby and the Athens Police Department and figure out just make sure there's the same set of rules for football players as there is for everybody else on campus. That seems extreme to me. And it seems like the Athens Police Department kind of has an axe to grind, and I don't know where that comes from. I know Athens is the government's a little bit more liberal, and maybe they don't like.
Well, why? I mean, if it's liberal, why would you throw black guys in jail?
I don't know. And one does have. I mean, I don't want to make it a race thing because there's so much of that going on.
Well, no, but I mean that's I think a logical,
valid question. Yeah. Look, truth is, if I got pulled over for going the wrong way in Athens, no alcohol, no drugs, I'm probably going to get a warning at most and be told to turn around and go the right way and watch what I'm doing. End of story. But I do agree with you. A black 17, 18-year-old kid at 3 o'clock in the morning, I think that is the reason ultimately that he got arrested. And I hate to say that.
No, it's probably true. I'm sure it could be. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. Here's my problem. The media and the way that they're covering it is true. It's dishonest, and it doesn't. I guess it doesn't really matter in the long term. I mean, it kind of does in some aspects because opposing coaches are going to use it.
Sure
because opposing fan bases, that's like their ha ha ha. Look at Georgia. That's their one hole. They can't get us on the field, but they make fun of the accident where two people lost their lives, and they make fun of that. So the media needs to I don't know. I don't know how you fix that. I don't think it's going to be fixed because here's the thing. So it's twofold. One, I saw Mark Weiser, who has been on the Georgia beat since 2002, 2001. He's been around for forever, right? And people, Georgia fans, and rightfully so, I totally agree, got pissed off. And somebody commented under his post about it and was like, "This is a joke. Why are you reporting this? Like $26 bail." And Mark Weiser goes, "Well, every major Georgia publication is writing about it. A player got arrested. That's news." No, it's not. It's not news, actually. A player getting arrested for murder, a major car accident where two people were killed, that's news. A kid getting arrested for being a dumbass and get $26 bail, that's not news, Mark. And then also Chip Towers, there's some things. Hopefully, this doesn't come out to certain people that are watching it, but I don't really care because I'll say it anyway. I don't know what the fuck happened between Georgia's football program and Chip Towers, but he has a major axe to grind, and it kind of pisses me off, and it gets me to the point where I want to punch Chip Towers in the fucking face and his stupid little gay mustache that he has now.
Oh, I didn't know.
It looks like a pedo mustache. I want to punch him in his stupid fucking face. Honestly, it pisses me off because there's something about Chip that just gets underneath my skin because I know he never played sports and he was a jock sniffer and he was always the guy that hung out outside the locker room and couldn't be in, and he just wanted to be somebody in his life. But he posts it on Twitter, whatever, typical Chip Towers. He's the one that was like, the players went to Toppers before they got into the car accident. Great reporting, Chip. Wow, they went to a titty bar. And then so he does that, whatever. And then Peter Burns from the SEC Network goes, "Wow, how many is that?" So obviously Peter Burns didn't fucking read the article. He didn't do any research. He just read the headline like every other fucking retard out there on social media, read the headline, and then just ran with it. Oh, Kirby and the culture of Georgia, blah, blah, blah. And rather than Chip Towers being like, well, this is a little different, or explaining it in any way, he goes, too many to count. What are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, at some point, Kirby tongue lashes them all the time, but people like that shouldn't be inside the room covering Georgia. I know that sounds crazy and it sounds like state TV stuff, but I don't care about if they cover hard news on Georgia. If Georgia's like, what do I care? I want the team to win. I'm a fan. I don't care about any of that shit. So the University of Georgia's got to start. I don't know, given who is in charge and the people that are in charge will ever do something like that. They probably won't. But something needs to happen here, and I don't know what will happen.
Well, I know you've got an axe to grind with Chip and the AJC specifically, but to me, I have an axe to grind with it. It's not just sports, it's not just Georgia. It is all of what you went to school for, and I think everybody who is a normal person who consumes media, which unfortunately we all do. Everything now has gotten, you learn about yellow journalism back in the day. It is now, it's not about who's most accurate, who does the best reporting. It's who's first and who can get the clicks. And so that is sensationalized all the way around. And like you said, this is different. And there needs to be a distinction drawn. Somebody racing and two people getting killed in an accident versus going the wrong way down a one-way street in Athens is really common. That knows anybody.
I've done it multiple times.
Absolutely, dude. I have too.
And then I go, oh shit, fuck, and I turn back my car, but there's never been a cop there, luckily. So
right. And
yeah.
so I think there just needs to be everybody needs to take a deep breath. There are some grown-ups, there can be grown-ups in the field of journalism that says, hold on, let's draw a distinction. If you want to report on it, I got no problem with it. These kids are paid and all that kind of stuff. There's an extra level of responsibility, but don't put some sensational headline out there. Like you said, national media just all now is how many is that? Come on, guys. It's not exactly at the same level as what happened previously. It's not an excuse, but we need to all just slow down. But it does.
Yeah, no, and I think your point is much more articulate than mine. I do think that it needs to be reported. There's a sphere where it needs to be reported, but the way and look, if you've been watching these videos for a while on Georgia stuff, you know that Don the Dog was a place that I wrote. No longer there. RIP. AI writers. I'll do a whole. I'm really thinking about doing something about that, just for people to click on it on YouTube and say that FanSided sucks, which they do. But even then, the guy that was the editor was like, "Oh, you need more clickbaity articles to click," and which is disingenuous. And they don't teach you that in journalism school. They say, write a headline that catches your eye, but not a headline that is misleading. And that's what he was talking about. And I think that's a lot of journalism now. And the AJC, I know I have my axe to grind against them, but the AJC, I don't know what happened. But I mean, they wall to wall covered this wrong way driving incident like it was the OJ Bronco chase on the website. It was on front page of the AJC on the website.
Just again, this is all 100% opinion, and I have no idea if I'm correct or not. But talking about Chip Towers specifically, and I don't know if this bleeds over to the whole AJC, but I believe because Kirby is such a control freak and controls the messages and controls the access to both the practices, players, and coaches, I believe Chip got his panties in a wad because Mark Richt, he was real chummy and liked the way he ran the program, and I guess he had more material to write. And when Kirby took over, that all stopped. And I believe that is what sticks in the craw of the AJC and specifically Chip Towers.
Well, I think Chip Towers gets underneath the skin of Kirby. He's like a gnat. He's like an annoying gnat near a horse's ass. He's just and he's really annoying.
Chip, there is no plan. Well, why don't you tell me what Georgia football is, Chip?
Right. Well, and here's another example.
Ball, play action, throw it. Oh, okay. Well, that's great. Appreciate that, Chip.
Well, I mean, and then you have that, and then here's a perfect example, though, of like this whole thing. I know we're kind of going off on another tangent here, but I forget. I guess it's whenever we were playing Vanderbilt, going into it was like Vanderbilt or Kentucky, somewhere in that range, when Kirby brought Mark Richt into the room. And I know I've told you this story, but I haven't said it here. So, it was the first time Mark Richt has been in front of the Georgia media in a formal setting since he got fired. So whenever he walked into the room, it was like, oh, wow, this is weird. And it's only, it was kind of crazy. And no one reacted. Like, none of the journalists reacted. And by the way, you're not supposed to. Anthony Dasher would tell you. Dash, my boy. There's a story there. But you're not supposed to react. And Chip Towers, of all people, when Mark Richt showed his face in there, he went, oh, like a girl seeing like John Lennon and the Beatles for the first time. It was weird. It's just weird, man. The way that he reacted to that is odd. And so to go to your point about the Mark Richt, Kirby Smart era, I think is 100% right. And hey, by the way, I think it stems to where Chip and Seth, whenever Seth Emerson was at the AJC, we're really getting deep into the George stuff. When Kirby was doing the interviews, was it in Memphis or what? Or not Memphis? In Jacksonville,
About when he was just getting hired, or it had already been announced that he had been.
It hadn't been announced yet, but they didn't know who. It was like Tom Herman, Kirby, and then I forgot who the other candidate was. Somebody not near as good. And Chip and Seth staked out the hotel where Georgia was at, and they caught Kirby.
Right.
I think that's where it all kind of stems from.
That was actually in Seth Emerson's book, right?
Yeah, in the Attack of the Day book. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a little bit of, I don't know. I think you're right. Kirby sees him as an annoyance, and Chip, for whatever reason, I think is, I mean, I'm sure he's a fan of the Georgia program and all that, but I think he's letting his biases. Huh?
He went to Georgia.
Well, I don't doubt it, but he's letting his biases leak out and a little bit. And again, it's not just Chip. Everybody in the school or in journalism, and again, I'm not, so I can look at it as an objective, consumer. Slow down. Clickbait is not that great, and if you're going to tell a story, make sure it's factually accurate. I mean, that's all you can ask for, and then people can make up their own mind. But there's so much smoke, and with all the stuff that's happened with the reckless driving and the racing, I get it, but at the same time, let's slow the roll. Kid was going the wrong way down a one-way street, and he got arrested. Right. I want to know what law says you can arrest somebody for going. I mean, I really don't understand. I just don't.
I don't know either. But before we move on to Jaden Rashada, this is completely been kind of wiped under. I saw it because I follow like a journalism thing for the city of Athens. One of the county commissioners for Athens Clarke County had 2 DUIs in less than 3 months, and one of them got wiped away, just swept away. So there is something funny. If I was a paid journalist and I was on the Georgia beat one day, maybe that's what I would be sniffing up on. There's something there, and I don't know why they won't do it.
Well, I don't either. But I have to think that there is not a good working relationship between the city of Athens, Athens police specifically, and I'm sure that's been from the top down, and the University of Georgia football program. And I would like to see that change. It doesn't mean we give the players free passes. That they should be held accountable. But let's relax a little bit. We don't have to be making headlines like this all the time on insignificant crap.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And this will go. Hey, speaking of this was going on. If you think about it, this part that I'm talking about, this was going on under the Mark Richt era as well. If you think about it, Ray Drew, remember that?
Yeah, he was asleep in the car.
Yeah, no, he was on a scooter or something.
Yeah, it was Jonathan Ledbetter that was asleep in the car.
Yeah, and we're talking about getting and the other guy, the guy that used to go to those football camps, the big guy that was a 5-star,
Rochester.
Yeah, Rochester. Remember that? They were shooting a BB gun at Dixie cups, and they got arrested.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, really? How many people as college students have done stuff like that?
I mean, all the time. How about the kid who after the SEC championship game, they were driving, going the speeding limit. They got pulled over. The cop said he smelt something. They didn't smell anything, and they found that much of a weed nugget.
But I believe that was Blinder, not Athens.
No, that was on the loop. That was up on exit 1.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. They got them for that. By the way, no one really notices, but that one got pushed under the rug because the cop didn't have anything. Yeah.
So, yeah, it goes back. It's a long-standing tradition for the Athens Police Department not to like players.
Yeah.
And treat them differently, I think. So
yeah.
that's my opinion.
And then a Florida player got popped for going 150 in Gainesville. On I don't know what highway that is up there. Probably a shit one anyway. But and then people were making jokes that he's going to transfer to Georgia. That's where it's gotten, and it's a like national thing.
Pretty good though.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Well, you can go. How about 150? What kind of car was he in?
I don't know. I didn't read it. I just saw the headline. It was 150 plus. It was 150 plus, and I was like, oh wow.
It's probably 95 or whatever that is down below. I mean, you got that straightaway through nothing but swamp for about 75 miles once you get through Gainesville.
Yeah,
but
we'd probably go that fast too to get out of there. But speaking of Florida, the Jaden Rashada news, if you haven't heard it by now, Jaden Rashada was promised a certain amount because he was committed to Miami. Miami told him they were going to give him, what, $10 million?
Almost 10, 9.7 something.
Yeah, and then Florida, right, and then Florida's big booster and collective said, no, if you sign with us, we'll give you 13. Obviously, 13 versus 9, that's a lot. So Rashada goes to them. So, evidently, he was supposed to get $1 million payments, and he signed a contract for it, and he never got it. So now he was let go of his NLI, National Letter of Intent. Went to Arizona State. He was banged up, played a couple of games, transfers to Georgia. It decides to sue Florida because he didn't get the money. Went to Kirby Smart, the family did, and Kirby gave it his blessing. It's really juicy. Just all those events going on. Now these obviously a backup quarterback for the rival, Georgia. So I understand it on that level, and that's all I really know. But to me, this starts going down to a we're heading down a road of complete chaos. And I think Josh Pate was the one that pointed it out, and it's true. And Josh Pate was pointing out that Graham Coffey pointed out, shout out Graham, that what stops the universities and these collectives now suing the players who transfer whenever they signed a deal with a collective?
It's coming.
It is coming.
Yes. Yep. It's coming. And the lawyers the legal industry has to be rubbing their hands together because of all this. The problem, as we've said, there's no governing body. And if you don't think this happens all across in the current environment, if you don't think this happens, it's not just Florida, it's not just Billy Napier, it's happening all over the country because of this stuff. Kids are being promised. And it's so, here's a couple takeaways from it. You're dealing with a 17, 18-year-old kid. Billy Napier, the guy that was in charge of the collective, they were all multi-millionaires, 40 and 50 or 40 plus years old.
Right.
There is a predatory sense to that. Right. The other thing too is, to your point, and all this to say, Florida, the University of, they're not named in any of this.
No,
but they lose immediately because of just the black eye this gives them. Billy Napier, if he wasn't on the hot seat, which he was, is boiling hot now. Right. It makes them look like the Keystone Cops, and it's going to affect their recruiting because if it's and just like you were talking about other coaches are going, oh, hey, you can't trust anything Florida's telling you.
Well, yeah, I would absolutely use that if I was Kirby.
So the only money he got there, evidently, whenever he decided he was first committed to Miami, and to get out of the contract, evidently was $150,000. The collective or whoever from Florida did give him the $150,000 as a buyout. So the University of Florida gave him the $150,000 to buy himself out of the Miami deal, promised him the money. And again, I hope they have evidence, because it's not, if it's just he said, she said, if there's no text messages, there's no electronic copies of anything, it's going to be really hard for them to prove. But damage is done, and the cat's out of the bag, and you're exactly right. When one of these big-time recruits backs out of his commitment to go to a university, just wait, especially if he goes to an opposing school in the same conference.
Sure.
These collectives and all these things, they're going to turn around and sue these kids, and it's going to be a shit show.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, to me, the biggest warning sign out of this whole thing. The NIL era has, I'm not going to say it hasn't ruined college football.
But if they don't get under control, it will.
Absolutely. That's the thing. We're at this moment. We've been inching to the crossroads, and I think this has propelled it more forward than anything that has transpired recently. It hasn't completely ruined it where it's massive chaos every single time, because most of the players that transfer, you have one or two big names, but you don't have, usually they're guys that haven't got a whole lot of playing time, if any, and they're not big time recruits. So it's not like chaos yet, but we're getting close to that point. Something's got to be done. Nick Saban has gone up to Congress, and he's looking to Congress, and Tommy Tuberville's, doing this whole thing. This is his whole crusade, which I guess will win you votes in Alabama. But, I don't trust the government at all to get involved with college football.
The government touches turns to shit. So.
They got involved with Major League Baseball. Look what happened there. This is, something's got to be done. I don't know. To me, what makes the most sense is that you get away from the NCAA and let all the other sports, and especially the non-revenue sports, stay with the NCAA. But football, and if you really wanted to, basketball, not separate themselves. Elect Nick Saban, for all I care, as the commissioner of college football, and then figure it out from there. I think we have two options. And I guess crossroads, you have three, but we're going to have two in this scenario. I guess there's a third one that I guess I'm not smart enough to figure out. Those are the two ways that we can go. I think the best is just because football is so much different than all the other sports, and having Rutgers go and fly across country in December to go play USC on a Tuesday night for college basketball doesn't make as much sense as Rutgers flying out to USC. Long story short, there's got to be something done. And football, I think, needs to separate and create its own thing.
Yeah, as far as what the prescription is, I'm with you. Smarter people than us can figure that out. But there's got to be something. And I think Kirby made – people are, Kirby knew about, Rashada and his family, which I appreciate, just being transparent. Hey, Kirby, I'll commit to come to Georgia,
right.
But just so you know, we got this lawsuit. We want to make sure you're cool with it and we're all on the same page, but here's the reason why. And Kirby went forward with it. A lot of people are like, oh, he's trying to twist the knife in Florida's back, which is probably true because he hates them, which makes him even more because fuck those motherfuckers. But the other thing is, I think Kirby is all about, hey, this is all got to be policed. If they're doing because he talked about it in one of his press conferences about tampering. He knows it's the Wild West and this shit's going on.
Right.
And I think he's legitimately is like, hey, these players, I want them to get paid. But he made a smart recommendation. We probably talked about it. These kids, once they make a commitment, they need to stay for 2 years. After 2 years, if they don't see a path to be able to get playing time or whatever, fine, you can transfer. So that's one logical, easy step. A commitment needs to mean something. And they need to be these kids need to be taught that lesson. And you're going to have coaches that are just, as we talked about, good coaches that are going to leave college football and they're going to go to pro because it's an easier gig, man.
Well, it's easier and you don't have to deal. I mean, there's staffs now that are people on staff that are just to recruit the players on your roster at the current time.
Yeah,
which is crazy and it's unfair. And smaller programs are going to end up dying out because of that.
And the game of football, And the game of all the way down, it goes to high school too. I mean, I know people that are involved in coaching, volunteering at pretty big time programs in Georgia, and these high school kids are getting paid hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to
Well,
come play.
Georgia, in the state of Georgia, high school kids can get NIL deals,
Yeah, I know.
which is nuts.
Millions of dollars. I mean,
Yeah.
that's crazy, man. What are we doing?
Yeah, it has gotten to the point, but we'll see what happens. I think Kirby's layout for NIL and the transfer portal is probably the most logical and most conservative. It's not that conservative. It's the most logical middle way in this thing. So,
why have we ever? I mean, we kind of just talked about it at the Power 5 conferences because
Power 4,
the Power 4, okay. Elect a commissioner of college football that has an executive board or something that can actually execute and enforce the laws or not laws, but the regulations. There needs to be something, and otherwise, NCAA is a joke. And didn't Tennessee tell?
Yeah, Tennessee sued. I don't know the full scope of it, but it was basically their NCAA came down pretty hard on them. I think it was for the Jeremy Pruitt stuff.
I think so.
And Tennessee fought back and basically put on a case saying that the NCAA was completely powerless, and the court agreed with them. And they didn't have to listen to the NCAA. So the NCAA is effectively dead in college football.
Yeah, and I'm all in favor of it. Whenever they didn't make any kind of ruling or couldn't enforce anything during COVID, I was already out on the NCAA.
Well, it's that, and then what the response to the NIL and to the transfer portal, it was terrible. It was so case by case basis. There was no general guidelines to it. You had Luke Ford, whose grandpa was dying, and he wants to transfer and go play. He gets denied, right? Yeah. He gets denied, but Justin Fields gets granted immediate access to go play for Ohio State.
Yeah,
that's whenever I started noticing that there was a problem.
Yeah, I knew it before then, but yeah, those all those things combined told me the NCAA is a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. And then Reggie Bush just got his Heisman, so the NCAA is a massive joke of an organization. All right, I think that does it for Georgia stuff. Check us out at Terminus Sports ATL on. You can just Google it; it'll pop up. And then on Twitter, Terminus Sports _ATL. Give us a follow, and then I was about to say Vera Books. Go ahead, because I forgot the name. I'm having a bad brain fart.
If you need shipping, anything from Parcel LTL. Shippers Atlanta, and you can ask for Marcus Gore.
All righty. We will see you on the other side.